Salutations! It's your Uncle Sam, and this is the Great American Game.
Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show was full of layered storytelling, cultural themes, and even some petty shots at a certain pop star.
Say, Drake, I hear you like I'm young.
Okay, maybe shots is an understatement. More like nuclear airstrikes launched into Drake's down-under bunker he booked to hide from his boogeyman in his closet. I don't know, but I digress. We are here to decipher all of the messaging and Easter eggs I found in Kendrick's performance, hopefully giving context and appreciation to it for those who didn't understand it live. If I miss anything, please comment it below so we can discuss it. And don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for the best music breakdown content on YouTube. Now let's get into it. Let's start off tackling the whole concept of this performance at a surface level until we can get into the details when we do the play-by-play. Samuel Jackson is the first face we see, and he introduces himself as Uncle Sam. For the rare few who may not know, the name Uncle Sam is used as a personification of the U.S. government and or its citizens. He welcomes all in attendance and watching at home to what he calls the Great American Game. This has multiple layers of meaning. First, this is being played at the Super Bowl halftime show. The Super Bowl is the championship game for NFL football, the sport which is dubbed America's Game. The second meaning is that the American game they speak of in this context refers to the unwritten rules most Black Americans have to adhere to in order to find success in the entertainment industries as well in everyday life. You guys know that saying, right? To play the game, you gotta play the game. Like the political game, you gotta make sure the right people are happy, not to upset people in powerful positions. This is the game that Kendrick Lamar is speaking of in this performance. To further add to this game metaphor and imagery, the stage design is actually 4 separate stages: a square, a circle, an X, and a triangle stage. These shapes symbolize the PlayStation controller buttons. We also have lights in the crowd that spell out words throughout the show that use video game terminology. And lastly, these shapes are a reference to the smash Netflix series Squid Game, where those same shapes have an integral role in the show, as the guards have a hierarchy based on the shape of their mask. There's circle guards, triangle guards, and then square guards. The X comes into play in the Squid Game story too. We'll soon get into the details of what the shapes represent and how it ties into the story as we go through the performance. One last thing before we dig into the play-by-play of the show. Let's take a quick look at what Kendrick is wearing. He has on a custom varsity jacket that plays into the fact that he's performing at the Super Bowl, as well as the Great American Game concept, as varsity jackets are worn by athletes. Kendrick also has a piece of jewelry with a chain that has a lowercase a on it. This is one of the logos of Kendrick's company PG Lang, which produced this performance, but I also believe this is a nod to the iconic line on Not Like Us A minor, since it's a lowercase a and that would be A minor. Could be a reach, but it's worth mentioning at the very least. Now, Kendrick Lamar begins his performance with a bold choice, doing an unreleased song, specifically the song that he teased on the GNX trailer about 20 minutes before the album actually dropped, the one that never really came out. He even dropped an additional verse that nobody had ever heard before on the performance. And in the beginning of the show, the crowd lights red "Start Here," like it would on a video game. He then transitions into a little interlude where he says, "This revolution is about to be televised. You picked the right time but the wrong guy," which I believe you can interpret in multiple ways. One could be with Donald Trump in attendance. It could feel like "pick the wrong guy" is a reference to how the country voted for Donald Trump as the new president. But it could also be Kendrick referencing himself, saying that while he's about to televise the revolution during this performance, and it is the right time to do so, they picked the wrong guy to do it because Kendrick says he won't do it in a peaceful and cookie-cutter manner that Uncle Sam would prefer. Next, we get into a rendition of Squabble Up, and after that, we get the return of Uncle Sam, who yells at Kendrick, essentially saying that that's not how you do this halftime show, that he's being too loud and too reckless and too ghetto, which we all know is just a coded, age-appropriate term to degrade confident Black people. Keep in mind, this is the first shape stage that Kendrick is performing on, and it's the square. In Squid Game, the square workers are of the highest rank. They give commands and have direct communications with the frontman, who's the person that oversees the game and monitors the contestants, much like Uncle Sam does throughout this show. Samuel Jackson is the frontman for the Great American Game. And of course, Uncle Sam is also simultaneously representing the average American viewer at home, as well as the higher-ups in the industry who try to control Black thought and Black artistic expression. They want Kendrick to humble himself, which is basically what Samuel Jackson told him to do. Which takes us right into the next song he performs, Humble, where the sit down, be humble chorus in the context of this performance is rapped from the perspective of the average American like Uncle Sam, who doesn't enjoy Kendrick's show or the rap music as a whole. The visuals during this part are striking as well, as the dancers are in red, white, and blue and are positioned to form an American flag, but it is split with Kendrick standing in the middle, showing the divided states of America. But it also feels like a callback to the Pop-Out show where Kendrick's core idea was gang unity in Los Angeles, the red and blue representing Bloods and Crips and the white representing the unity between them. The next song performed is DNA, and this track feels like Kendrick's rebuttal to being told to sit down and be humble by Uncle Sam, where he details how he can't help how he comes off because this is embedded inside his DNA. The surprising setlist choices continue with the next two tracks, Euphoria and Man at the Garden. Euphoria being another Drake diss, Kendrick performs this song while running to the other stages, and as he is running, the crowd lights has more words that read warning, wrong way, like it does in a video game when you're leaving the mission area. This indicates Kendrick is straying further and further away from what Uncle Sam wants from him. Kendrick is merely an avatar in this game that America thinks they can control, but he takes the control back, and that's the core theme to this entire performance. Next, we get Man at the Garden, and he does a remix version of it, where he's at a corner streetlight with a group of his homies beatboxing while he raps, giving the feeling of a street freestyle. After this, Uncle Sam appears again, chastising Kendrick for bringing his homeboys with him. I take this to mean how higher-ups would want someone like Kendrick to abandon his street roots and leave his homeboys behind as he approaches fame, as they're seen as problematic. Sam then refers to this as the old culture cheat code. A cheat code is another video game reference, which is when you get an advantage in a game through some secret action or combination or something like that. Some kind of code you can put in that can basically give you a one leg up in the game. Uncle Sam then calls for the scorekeeper to deduct one life, which also adds to the video game imagery, as in certain games like Pac-Man or just your standard stereotypical games, you may have 3 lives before it's game over for you, you know? Now let's get into what may be the darkest and most sinister part of this performance conceptually. And I'm about to get my tinfoil hat on and reach bag with this, so bear with me and don't crucify me if I'm completely wrong or if you guys think it's stupid. I read about this online and I gotta talk about it. I gotta talk about it because this is kind of nuts, and I feel like the coincidences are a little too big to ignore. Gotta mention it, so let's try it. Kendrick goes in to perform his song Peekaboo. And some know there is a dark internet theory about this song and its connection to another Kendrick Lamar song titled Silent Hill, a song he has with Kodak Black that's on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. To summarize this theory, the idea is that Silent Hill is a subtle diss at Drake from both Kodak and Kendrick, and that there's subtle references in both that and Peekaboo to Drake possibly being responsible for the murder of breakout star XXXTentacion in 2018. And I know this has seemed like a crazy conspiracy for a while now, as there's been talk about this for years, but there is some smoke to this fire when I actually look into it, and hey, let's get into it. Kodak Black was a friend of X. He went to jail in the prison that one of his killers went to, named Dedrick Williams, and reportedly when Kodak was in jail, they were saying that they had a run-in together. I don't know if that means that there was a conflict or if they just had a conversation, but there was reports of that happening. And the idea here is that Dedrick must have given Kodak some kind of information. It goes deeper than this. I don't have time to get into every little aspect of this theory, but Knox Hill and Thought Crimes have both done good videos on this. Definitely check those out to get into the deep details of it. But essentially, the theory is that Drake got X killed, Kendrick knows, that's why he linked with Kodak, Kodak told him, and this is what he's been teasing. Now, before X died, he had issues with Drake, very public issues with Drake. When he got out of jail, his hit song Look At Me was making the airwaves, but Drake had a song that sounded just like it called KMT. X would go on a crazy media run just shitting on Drake, and he said, and I quote, "If I ever get killed, Drake did it." Now, most of us shrugged this off and been like, okay, this is just coincidence and he was a young guy just saying stuff. Drake wouldn't actually get someone killed, right? Right? Now, X, before he died, was doing a big charity promotion called the Helping Hand Challenge, where he would walk up to strangers in his community and help them out with either supplies or money, etc., things like that. It was a nice little gesture. And after he died, Drake was accused by some of ripping off the idea and mocking it in the God's Plan music video. Apparently, when he did it in the God's Plan music video, he was doing this in Florida too, where X is from. He then went on a tour called the Assassination Vacation Tour. Weird timing. But what does any of this have to do with Peekaboo? Well, in Silent Hill, there's a line where Kendrick says, "Peekaboo can't hide behind your money, dog," which many take as a Drake diss, especially in retrospect. And in the intro to the Peekaboo song, there's a sample that is a complete deviation to what the song evolves into. And the lyrics are, "Give a helping hand. The helping hand challenge, give a helping hand, Peekaboo." Listen, I know it sounds like a reach, right? But the thing is, I agreed with you. I thought this was a massive, massive, massive reach. I did. I was like, man, this is kind of ridiculous. Now, the sample, that's a little weird, but I don't know. I just don't see it going that far. But I was wrong. I have been convinced otherwise, because remember when I said the stage design is shaped like a PlayStation controller? Kendrick Lamar performs this song Peekaboo, and only this song Peekaboo, inside of the X stage. Yup, the X stage. And remember, during the helping hand sample that was played, Samuel L. Jackson did say deduct one life. Maybe that's what that's referring to. Just something to think about. Now, speaking of the X in a different context, there's another layer here. In the series Squid Game, the X in that show is a reference to the voting game, where the contestants in the game can choose to end it all and split the money with everybody if they vote using the X button, or they can continue the game and be greedy by pressing the O button. The X button is representative of a choice, and after Peekaboo we get a small little interlude where Kendrick has to make a choice. Do I keep playing the game Uncle Sam wants me to? Do I play it safe and play the safe hit songs for the crowd? Or do I continue my own path? He displays this choice by teasing, "Not like us."
I want to perform their favorite song, but you know they love to sue.
What song?
Yeah, that song.
Kendrick then momentarily decides to play the game Uncle Sam wants for now and do his soft melodic songs with SZA to appease the audience for a moment. He makes his way to the triangle stage where SZA is so they can perform Luther. Then they together go to the circle stage to perform All the Stars. In the Squid Game show, the circles and triangles represent the lower tier guards on the hierarchy. They are pure workers who enforce the game's rules and don't have any influence on how they are played. This is used as a metaphor for how they want Kendrick to be, and after All the Stars finishes, we get the final appearance from Uncle Sam that tells the whole story. He applauds Kendrick for staying in his place, for performing nice and calm music that America wants. This is what makes the average viewer more comfortable. He tells Kendrick he is almost there, but he can't mess this up, but then is abruptly interrupted by the iconic rebellious horns of Not Like Us. Kendrick remixes the intro to the song saying there's a cultural divide, I'ma get it on the floor, which I interpret as him verbalizing what he did with dividing the American flag in the beginning of the performance. The cultural divide is real and Kendrick is going to address it head on. He says, 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. Then, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. Another reference to the great American game metaphor of the show. They tried to rig it so you think you have a freedom of choice, but in reality you're playing into their hands. This is like in Squid Game. That voting game that I mentioned earlier is a manipulative tactic on the contestants that rigs the game in the favor of the game makers, so the game continues while giving the illusion that the players have a choice. This is also a dig at Drake, who Kendrick thinks tried to rig the music industry and rap battle they had in his own favor, but the influence Kendrick is creating from his victory cannot be faked. And if we're being honest, Drake did try to rig the battle in his own favor. In that lawsuit for defamation against UMG, he says that he wanted UMG to either censor, edit, or block the song's release altogether. He wanted to be able to defame Kendrick and say his disses while Kendrick's rebuttals would be silenced. That is literally him trying to rig the game. Kendrick then, with the fire of 1,000 suns, performs Not Like Us in the most defiant manner possible. He name drops Drake with the most devilish grin on his face. He even had Drake's ex-girlfriend, tennis legend Serena Williams, crip walking to the song. For those that don't know, Serena Williams is a legend in women's tennis and dated Drake for a short while back in 2011-2012 range. Drake on recent albums has made disparaging remarks about her and her husband. So this is just Serena's way of getting her lick back. And let's not forget that she is from Compton, just like Kendrick Lamar. Now, some of you may ask, why is Drake relevant to the concept of this show? Or couldn't he pull this off without making it about Drake? And that's the thing. This isn't about Drake. Not at all. At least not specifically. He is just a cog in the wheel, a poster child of the problem that he is addressing. Drake and his brand of hip-hop is seen as suitable for the casual pop audience. He is the ideal version of what Uncle Sam wants out of a rap show. But Drake, in his top position, has not pushed the genre forward. Kendrick is taking it upon himself to do that and tearing down Drake in the process. Because to set forth a new regime, you have to kill the king. And Drake was that king for the last decade plus, whether we like it or not. And Kendrick has decided to give us that clean slate. He gives us a final 2 rebellious tracks of his set list, and at the end of TV Off, the crowd lights read, "Game over." Kendrick has made his choice of not conforming to the industry puppet that they want all black entertainers to be, what he believes Drake is. Kendrick isn't playing their game anymore. He's playing his own and pushing forth his own vision. He has effectively ended the great American game.
Turn his TV off, turn his TV off. Turn his TV off, turn his TV off. Turn his TV off, turn his...